So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a list of my top App Lab games that you can get from App Lab for your Oculus Quest right now. Now before we get into it, let's talk about what App Lab is for those who might not be aware. Now to give some context, I'll start by talking about the Oculus Quest store. The Oculus Quest store, as you probably are aware, are those games and apps that have made it through Oculus's rigorous selection process. That means all of the games and apps you see on the Oculus Quest store tend to be of a certain good quality. Now let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, and that's SideQuest. SideQuest is a real mixed bag. It has games, apps and experiences that are good enough to rival some of the games in the official Quest store. But it also has games, apps and experiences that are extremely buggy and almost unplayable. And that's because you can pretty much publish any Oculus Quest game, app or experience on SideQuest. I say pretty much because I'm sure there are some limitations, but this means SideQuest contains apps that vary widely in quality. And the other thing about SideQuest is that in order to install any content from SideQuest onto your headset, you need to link your headset to a computer, go through a series of setup steps that involve you creating a developer account and other things in order for you to what they call sideload content from SideQuest onto your headset. And naturally, as you might expect, that creates a lot of barriers. Some people, for example, don't have a computer in order to load that content, whilst others might not want to go through all of that setup in order to sideload content. And so in comes App Lab. App Lab is kind of a limbo between the official Oculus Quest store and SideQuest. It contains games that for whatever reason didn't make it to the official Oculus Quest store, and things like demos and pre-releases, things you might find on SideQuest. But it also has an application process, so unlike SideQuest, you don't get these really buggy, unplayable experiences. At least from what I've seen, all of the games that have been published on App Lab have been pretty reasonable to date. So you could think of the App Lab as a place that contains all of those games, apps and experiences that are SideQuest's cream of the crop. The other thing about App Lab is, unlike SideQuest, you don't need to be linked to a computer in order to install content. You can do it all from within your headset. You don't even need to make a developer account. So now we know what App Lab is, before we get on to our top list, I want to talk about how to find and install games directly from App Lab onto your Quest headset. So the first thing you'll notice, there's no official storefront in the Oculus Quest home screen. In order to find a game, I go into Store, then I'm going to have to search for it. So I'm going to have to know the name of the App Lab game that I want to find. Once I put it into search, you'll see these search results come up. You might not see that App Lab game there, but it is there. I just have to look down below. And so what I have to do is then click again to reveal the game, and I'll find it there, and then I click again to get into it. I make sure I'm signed in, and then, only then, can I download it to my headset. Now if I want more of a storefront experience, then I have to go into the Oculus browser. I type in the address applab.games, and it takes me to this online storefront which lists all of the App Lab games. Now when I click on one of those games, it links out to the App Lab store, and that will allow me to download it onto my headset. So those are two of the main ways you can find and install games from App Lab. Before we get onto our list, just a quick word from the sponsor of this video, CDKoffers. I recently came across this website, and what they do is they offer software and game keys for great prices. I checked it out myself. Take a look at this. I got myself a Windows 10 Pro activation key, and I got it for around $15 US. I added it to my basket, I quickly made an account, then I proceeded to check out and made sure I entered my promo code VIEW20 for an extra 20% off, which knocked the price down to just over $15 US. Then I got my activation key, put it into Windows, went through all of the steps, and now my Windows 10 Pro is activated. So now I'll be giving my top 12 free and paid App Lab games you can get for the Oculus Quest right now. Now, although I'll be giving my favorite games on this list, there are a lot of great games in the App Lab that equally deserve to be on this list. So you might disagree with some of my choices, but even if you do, with that being said, I'm sure you will enjoy all of the games on this list regardless. Also, as Oculus are increasing the amount of staff working on App Lab applications, we are sure to see many more games pop up in App Lab in the near future. So this list just including games that are in App Lab now, not the ones that will potentially appear in App Lab in the future. So with that out of the way, let's get onto the list. And first up we have Ancient Dungeon. Now this is a free roguelite dungeon crawler. Now this game is currently in beta, so while it is free for now, it might not be in the future when it comes out of beta. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of these voxel Minecraft style graphics, but to be honest, I quickly forgot about the visuals as soon as I got into this game. And so I mention that because if you are like me and you're not a huge fan of these visuals, please don't let that put you off. Dungeons in this game are procedurally generated, so each time you play, you will experience a new dungeon layout. Each of the dungeons has a theme, like vegetation or fire, and they are filled with monsters, traps, secrets, loot, and mini-bosses. All of this makes gameplay really varied and makes it really fun to explore the dungeons, which is one of the things I love about this game. And another thing I love about it is the combat. You have this throwing weapon and a melee weapon, and you can upgrade both of these weapons with various power-ups. Now what makes combat so enjoyable is the physics. You can cut through vegetation, smash through walls, and use the environment around you to damage enemies. Enemies also aren't damage sponges either. They react and stagger to your hits. You can even chop some parts of them off. So our next game is another freebie for now, as it's still in development, but that could change once it comes out of development. So Squadron describes itself as Star Fox meets VR, and that's a pretty accurate description. It's an on-the-rail shooter with cute fluffy animals where you take control of a gunship and destroy turrets, fighters and bosses as you go through each stage. Visually it looks quite nice, and although it will only last you about an hour, it has this branching mission system, which each mission fairly unique and fun to play. The gameplay lacks a bit of challenge for me at the moment, it's a bit too easy, but I still had a lot of fun playing this one, and it's absolutely fantastic when played co-op with a friend. Galaxy Forces VR is our next game. This is a free game inspired by retro games like Lunar Lander. Now you have two main game types, one where you collect cargo and drop it off at different landing pads, all the while avoiding enemies and obstacles and having to refuel your ship along the way. Then there's this race mode where you need to do laps by going around the various checkpoints as fast as you can. So this game doesn't necessarily make the best use of VR, but it is insanely addictive. There's tons of levels, a level editor, and a global high scoreboard so that you can challenge yourself to beat your own personal best or try to beat other people's scores and times. One feature that I really love is the ability to view the recordings of other people's playthroughs, so you can see exactly how they got that high score or that insanely fast run. So this next game is called Gorilla Tag, and it's simple multiplayer fun, and best of all, it's completely free. Now it might not be the prettiest game out there, but what it lacks in visual appeal it makes up for in gameplay. Now in this game there is a tag mode for up to 3 players, and there's also an infection mode for 4 or more players. Now in the infection mode you start off with one infected gorilla who then has to infect the others. Once you have been infected, you then chase after any remaining non-infected gorillas. One of my best features about this game is the locomotion, so there's no button pushing required, you just use your arms to climb, swing and push to launch yourself off of surfaces. It's a really fun way to get around and will give you a decent workout in the process. Now this next game, Puzzling Places, is currently in beta and is free, but it is planned for release on Oculus Quest this summer, so it might not be free once it's released. This beta comes with 6 different puzzles that range from 20 pieces up to a whopping 200 pieces. And if you join their Patreon, you can get access to over 34 puzzles in addition to the 6 that you get with the beta. Now this game is on my list because it's very different to any other game that I have here. It's a very relaxing, almost meditative experience that you can do seated and in your own time. Now it is very enjoyable putting together these hyper-realistic miniatures piece by piece. But what I really like about this game is that with every puzzle piece that you put in place, the miniature seems to come alive with sounds and visuals. So if you're looking for a more chilled out VR experience, then I do recommend giving this one a go. Our next game on this list is Hyperstacks. Now this game is in alpha and it will currently cost you about $20 US. This is an action platform puzzler, and the reason why I like it so much is that it has quite varied gameplay. One moment you'll find yourself climbing, jumping and swinging to avoid traps. The next you'll be thinking about how to solve a puzzle to unlock the next area. And in the next moment you'll be fighting off a bunch of enemies, dodging and ducking while trying to take them out with both ranged and melee combat. Everything controls really nicely, and there's plenty of content out there owing to a level editor that allows you to create your own levels and play other people's creations. There's also a multiplayer mode that's currently a work in progress, which allows you to play and even create levels with a friend. Next up is Guardians. Now this game will cost you about $15 US, and it's really hard to capture this game in a couple of minutes because it has so many features, but I'll try my best. So it's a first-person shooter and real-time strategy game all in one. Now the real-time strategy part involves a system where you can mine minerals, and using those minerals build units that you can then give commands. You have to fend off these alien bugs in different missions that usually involve defending a structure or destroying alien nests that spawn enemies. Now what I really like about this game is that there's so many ways you can approach combat. You can rely mainly on mining minerals, generating and commanding units, or you can use your weapons, or you can use a combination of both. It's really up to you. There's a big variety of weapons to play with, from gravity guns to energy swords, and there's tons of units to spawn and command like droids, mechs, turrets, mines, defense towers, teleporters and so on. It has a single player mode, but I think where this game really shines is multiplayer. It has a player versus player mode and a co-op mode for up to 4 players, featuring cross-play with PC VR. So this next game is inspired by the classic Capcom arcade game Battle of Midway and will cost you about $15 US. So what I love about this game, it is a unique game on the Quest, and the arcade retro style gameplay is a lot of fun. But what brings it on this list is also how it makes good use of VR, bringing a flat screen retro game into a 360 virtual reality world. For example, planes fly in from around your head onto the flat screen in front, which is really cool. And there are these immersion zones scattered throughout the level, which take you into the game in a first-person VR mode. Your plane can also be upgraded using the coins you earn during missions. And listen, I do like retro games like the Battle for Midway, so I could be biased in this, and it might not be for everyone, but there is a demo so you can try it out for yourself before buying to see if this game is for you. So this next game is Warplanes WW1 Fighters, and this is without a doubt a sure addition to this list. In fact, even though this is a game on the App Lab right now, I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes eventually to the official Oculus Quest store. Now this game costs about $15 US, and the visuals are pretty impressive for an Oculus Quest game. It also features 90Hz support on the Quest 2. The sound is also top notch, and as for the gameplay, well, I think it's the best flight sim game on the Quest out there at the moment in my opinion. The plane handles really nicely, and you have the option to change the gameplay to a more realistic sim style of flight or to a more arcade style depending on your preference. You get to buy different planes, upgrade them and even build your own squadron, then take on the enemy in 2 separate campaigns where you play as either the Central Powers or the Allies. The missions are diverse. One moment you'll be using machine guns to take out enemy planes in a dogfight, and in the next you'll be chucking bombs over the side of your plane to destroy naval forces. It also has multiplayer modes, both player versus player and co-op, and although it does have comfort options, those sensitive to motion sickness beware. Thankfully there is a demo so you can try it out for yourself to see how you go before you buy. So this next game, well 2 games, is Crisis Brigade. There's Crisis Brigade 1 and 2. The original Crisis Brigade doesn't look as good as Crisis Brigade 2, but it is quite a bit cheaper, with Crisis Brigade 2 being about $25 and Crisis Brigade being about $8. To be honest, you can't go wrong with either game. These games are action shooters. They're like light gun games in VR, so think Time Crisis but in virtual reality. The gameplay is simple. Take cover, shoot enemies, and clear the stage, then move on to the next stage. I recommend getting the original Crisis Brigade if you don't have the budget for Crisis Brigade 2, or if you want to play multiplayer, as Crisis Brigade has a co-op mode. But I will mention that co-op mode is also coming to Crisis Brigade 2 at some point, so you might want to hold out for that. In contrast to the original Crisis Brigade, Crisis Brigade 2 feels just a lot more polished. Whilst I enjoy this game, it's difficult, both games are difficult, even with the difficulty levels set at the bare minimum. It's definitely a challenge, and some might find that quite frustrating, so it's by no means a casual experience. That being said, these are both fantastic action games, particularly for anyone who suffers from motion sickness, as you pretty much stay in one location all of the time, and when you do move on to the next one, you teleport with no discomfort. So if you're into your cooking games, I can recommend all Hail Cook-o-tron. It's about $25 and it will definitely test your multitasking skills. It has a campaign mode with about 30 levels, and there are 6 bosses to complete, including the notorious judge Cook-o-tron. But if you're not wanting a campaign and are after a more casual gameplay experience, this game does have an arcade mode with an online leaderboard as well. So I found this game to just be really polished, well put together. It offers a fantastic challenge, and there are over 80 separate dishes you can create, from kebabs and burgers to drinks and fries. If you have the space, this is a great game to play room scale, but if you don't, you can also play this game seated. You can adjust that in the options. This is a fun family game that can be enjoyed by both kids and adults. For our next game, we're going to take a look at Arcaxer. This is a turn-based VR RPG, and will set you back about $25. Now the full game isn't finished yet, so what you're paying for is a pre-release version of Arcaxer. But don't let that turn you off, because what you get for your money is hours of great gameplay. You choose your player class, whether it be a fighter, a thief or a mage, and you enter what is called the stack, which is a huge procedurally generated dungeon that's filled with random enemies and loot. In this game you can interact with NPCs and find new equipment and abilities when you're exploring the dungeons. But what I really like about this game is the turn-based combat. Winning combat encounters depends on your character's stats and abilities, and your own abilities to use your own body to aim and shoot magic, and to physically dodge incoming enemy attacks. The game also features an interesting story, and if you are interested in checking it out, there is a demo available so you can try before you buy. So this game, Deisim, will cost you about $8. It's a virtual reality god simulator. You can do what you like in this game as an all-powerful god, but even gods have their weaknesses, and yours are the humans that you look after. They are the source of your power. As you progress, your godlike powers improve, and you watch your people advance from the Stone Age all the way up to the Modern Age, and the next update will bring another age to that, the Future Age. There's definitely more than a few hours of gameplay here, and if you like games like Black and White or world building games, or even games like The Sims, then this is probably something you're going to enjoy. Now it'll be fair to say this next game is my favourite casual puzzle game on the Oculus Quest. This is Zooma Deluxe Edition. It will cost you about $15. This game has 4 chapters with 30 levels each, meaning that there's a total of 120 levels in this game. While some levels you can complete fairly quickly, it still gives you a few hours of gameplay, and as the levels progress they do get more challenging, so you'll find you're dying more often as you get further into the game. Each level also has a star rating system depending on your performance, so even when you've completed all of the stages you can go back and try to get 3 out of 3 stars for each of the stages if you want that extra challenge. But the amount of content you get with this game is not the only reason why I recommend it. This game is a simple, addictive puzzle game. If you haven't guessed it already, you have to line up 3 or more of the same coloured balls in a row. Once you do that, those balls disappear and you earn yourself points. Now these lines of balls are gradually moving into the dragon's mouth. If they reach the dragon's mouth, then it's game over, so you have to clear them before that happens. Now with a simple game like this, you might think that it could also be played just as well on a flat screen, but this version actually makes very good use of VR. You'll find the lines of balls twisting all over the place, so you do have to look around and use your controllers to line up each of your shots. Each stage is also very different. There are different obstacles that you have to overcome and different power-ups you can collect to keep things varied. So I am definitely a big fan of this one. So the final game on our list is David Slade Case Files. Now I've featured this game a few times before in some of my videos, and it's just recently popped up in AppLab, and it'll cost you about $10 US. What I love about this game is it makes you feel like a proper detective. You go around asking questions, and it does have some very good voice acting. You solve puzzles and you have your Glock by your side in case things get a bit dangerous. You also have your evidence kit that contains things like swabs and brushes that helps you piece together the clues so you can solve your case. There's one chapter available for this game right now, but there is a second chapter in the works and a third chapter planned in the future. And that's about it for this list. I'd love to hear from you. Comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your top AppLab games are. If you've liked this video, do remember to hit that thumbs up button, and if you think I've deserved it, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to be kept up to date with all the content coming from this channel. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video.